You replay conversations in your head. You analyze things you said hours ago. You imagine what someone might have meant, what they might be thinking now, what you should have said instead. Sometimes the same moment loops again and again. You call it thinking. You tell yourself you're just trying to understand things better. But most of the time, overthinking is not actually thinking. It's threat detection. Your brain is trying to solve a problem that it believes is important for your well-being. And because the brain hates uncertainty, it keeps searching for answers long after the moment has passed. The brain's job is not happiness. The brain is often described as a problem-solving machine, but its primary priority is not happiness. Its priority is stability. Your brain constantly scans for signals that something might be wrong, something unclear, something unresolved, something that could create problems later. When everything feels predictable and understandable, the brain relaxes. But when something feels ambiguous, it stays alert, and social situations are full of ambiguity. A short message, an unusual tone, a delayed reply. None of these things automatically mean anything negative, but they leave room for interpretation, and the brain tends to treat unanswered questions like unfinished tasks. It keeps returning to them, trying to complete the picture. Not because the situation is necessarily serious, but because uncertainty creates tension, and tension disturbs stability. Why conversations replay in your head? Think about the last time you said something awkward. Maybe you made a joke that didn't land. Maybe someone responded with a short message. Maybe the conversation ended in a strange way. Hours later, your brain starts replaying the moment. You analyze your words, their tone, their facial expressions. Your brain begins generating possibilities. Maybe they misunderstood. Maybe you sounded rude. Maybe they think less of you now. This is not random. Your brain is searching for a pattern. It is trying to answer one question. Is there a threat to my social standing? The problem is that most of the time there is no clear answer, and the brain struggles to tolerate unanswered questions. The illusion of control. Overthinking feels productive. It feels like you're doing something useful. After all, thinking is how we solve problems. But overthinking creates an illusion of control. The brain believes that if it analyzes the situation enough times, it will eventually reach certainty. If it replays the conversation one more time, if it considers one more possibility, then it will finally understand what really happened. But many situations in life simply do not provide complete information. You cannot fully know what another person thought. You cannot replay a moment and change it. Why some people overthink more than others. Everyone overthinks occasionally, but some people experience it far more intensely. This often comes down to three things: sensitivity to social cues, past experiences of criticism or rejection, and a strong desire to avoid mistakes. If someone grew up in an environment where mistakes were heavily judged, their brain may become highly vigilant. The brain learned that small errors can have large consequences, so it begins scanning interactions carefully, looking for signs of disapproval, trying to prevent future problems, making sure that everything is okay and under control. The cost of over-monitoring yourself. There is another cost to overthinking that people rarely talk about. When you constantly analyze how you appear to others, you begin adjusting your behavior in real time. You monitor your tone, your reactions, your opinions. You start asking yourself questions like, was that too direct? Should I agree instead? Did I sound strange? Ironically, this often leads to the opposite result. The more you monitor yourself, the less natural your behavior becomes. Instead of responding naturally, you begin performing a slightly edited version of yourself. You are managing how you are perceived, and that's when authenticity starts to disappear. But remember, Most people are not looking for perfect behavior. They are looking for something much simpler: genuine reactions, natural conversation, authenticity in your personality. When someone feels comfortable being themselves, it actually makes others feel more comfortable too. Reaching for perfection in communication eventually feels unnatural and also leaves you unsatisfied. People generally remember how you made them feel, not whether every word you chose was perfectly calibrated. The more space you give yourself to be authentic, the less pressure your mind feels to overthink and afterwards monitor every interaction. The difference between reflection and rumination. Not all thinking is harmful. Reflection is useful. Reflection looks like this. You review a situation briefly. You extract a lesson, then you move forward. Rumination is different. Rumination is circular. The same thoughts repeat without resolution. Instead of learning something new, the brain simply replays the same emotional experience. Reflection moves you forward. Rumination keeps you stuck in the same moment. Most overthinking is rumination, not problem solving. Why overthinking feels impossible to stop? Many people try to stop overthinking by telling themselves, just stop thinking about it, move on. But this rarely works, because overthinking is not just a thought pattern, it is also a nervous system state. When the brain perceives uncertainty as a potential threat, it activates alertness. Your attention narrows, your mind scans for more information. Your body may even feel slightly tense. In that state, the brain naturally returns to the unresolved situation. Trying to shut it down with force often makes the thoughts return even stronger. The real solution is not suppressing thoughts. It is changing your relationship with uncertainty. Learning to tolerate uncertainty. Overthinking often disappears when the brain learns that uncertainty is safe, but that requires practice. Instead of forcing yourself to find the perfect explanation, you allow the possibility that you may never know exactly what happened. Maybe the person was distracted. Maybe the conversation meant nothing to them. Maybe they forgot about it 5 minutes later. Your brain will want closure, but closure is not always available. Learning to leave some questions unanswered reduces the loop. Interrupting the replay loop. There are practical ways to weaken overthinking patterns. First, recognize when the loop starts. Overthinking often begins with phrases like, "What if?" Maybe they think, "I should have said." When you notice the loop, label it, not as a problem, but simply as rumination. Second, redirect attention into physical action. Movement helps break cognitive loops. Walking, cleaning, exercise, even changing environments. These shifts signal to the nervous system that the situation is not dangerous. Third, limit how long you analyze a situation. Give yourself a short window for reflection. Ask one question: is there a useful lesson here? If there is, take it. If not, continuing to analyze will not produce new information. Most people are not thinking about you. This is one of the most liberating realizations. While you are replaying a conversation from 3 hours ago, the other person is usually thinking about something else entirely: their work, their own problems, their own worries. Humans are naturally self-focused. Just like you are often inside your own thoughts, so is everyone else. The moment that feels huge in your mind may barely exist in theirs. Remembering this can soften the urgency of the mental loop. Overthinking is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a system that evolved to protect your social safety. Your brain is trying to prevent mistakes, trying to predict outcomes, trying to reduce uncertainty. But in the modern world, that system often runs too often and for too long. The goal is not to eliminate thinking. The goal is to recognize when thinking stops being useful and when a problem no longer has new information to offer. At that point, the healthiest move is not another analysis. It is letting the moment end. Because most conversations, most interactions, And most small mistakes do not define your life. They pass. And when you allow them to pass, your mind finally has space for something else.